Host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum. Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Hello, you're listening to Treasure Coast Forum. I'm Frank. I'm joined with Amira from South Fork High School and Bob Becker, who is a longtime listener and frequent caller to the show. And he's decided to join us here in the studio. Welcome, one and all. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great.
Whoops.
Pretty excited.
I got to turn on the better. Try that microphone. How's that?
Which one?
No, you're doing good.
Hey, testing.
Tether. I had to turn on the correct microphone for Bob. Yeah, very good. So you can hear, everybody can hear. We're all connected. Everything's good. So Amira and I were talking before airtime. Really interesting things. Tell me about tell our listeners about the computer thing that you were, the virtual computer medication type service that you thought was, I found it pretty interesting. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Okay, so in general, it takes about 13 years for a drug to be developed for a disease, maybe like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and cancer. And it's like cost $2 billion of money to do that stuff.
Because a team of doctors,
and
a lot of research.
66% of those drugs fail all the time. So there's this one guy who developed this computer that has the power of 20,000 laptops.
20,000?
Yeah, 20,000. And then there's all these numbers. And with all these numbers and all these mathematical equations, he's replicated virtually every single molecule in the human body. And then he created a virtual human, and then in which that he can insert a virtual disease in. So he can give that virtual human Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or cancer. And then with that virtual human and suffering from that virtual disease, they can use the virtual drugs that they develop onto that human, and they can do unlimited trials, and they can make unlimited alterations at such a fast rate, and it reduces cost, it reduces risk. It's game changing.
And how soon will the products be available? Is this going to be coming to market pretty soon?
Is
it already working?
It's working. So after maybe about 2 billion trials on one drug, scientists start doing human trials after that.
And of course, human trials do take some time as well. So even if they have a viable drug candidate today, it might be 5 years before it's available to the general public as a rule, I would think, right? Wow, it's pretty cool stuff. It's very cool. And you just learned about this earlier this week, right?
Yeah, it just popped up on my YouTube feed.
Your news feed, yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool stuff. Well, you'll have to send me the link. That's fascinating. So we also, before we came on air, you told me that you were involved in doing some special work getting places ready for refugees from Ukraine. So tell us a little bit about that kind of work. That's amazing work.
Okay, so there's this local nonprofit in Martin County called Elevate Hope.
Yes.
And what they do is they provide food for homeless people. They provide homes and places where they can try to teach homeless people and help them out to get them back on their feet.
Right.
And so there was this one room that I had to clean and get ready, and it was a room reserved for Ukrainian refugees.
Okay. Wow. It's a good sized room, I assume, right?
Oh yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah.
It had like a fridge, a little kitchen. There was like a table and a bunk bed and like some toys for kids.
Wow. Very cool. And what the age range of the Ukrainians that are coming here?
I'm guessing the kids probably at most 11 years old, judging by the toys I saw.
And their parents are coming as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. So to keep the family units intact.
Mhm.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I didn't know that Martin County was hosting refugees. So that's breaking news as far as Bob didn't know that either. So that's great stuff. Um, and so I suspect you'll be doing other projects. Is this the first time you've done anything with Elevate Hope?
No, I've done stuff with them in the past,
Mhm.
like beach cleanups, food drives,
Mhm.
and promotional videos back in middle school.
Promotional videos, and they were about.
It was just I remember one time there's this arcade place, Play Money, and for one day all the money earned by that place would be donated to Elevate Hope. So we made the video to send to schools to get kids to go.
Oh, okay, cool.
So where did they come from? Poland, or where did they come from? The refugees?
Ukraine.
No, but I mean,
They probably came. Yeah, well, they could have come via any of the other neighboring countries.
Oh yeah, anywhere. I don't know all those details. All I knew is that I cleaned the room, and then I was told that Ukrainian refugees are going to use it.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
You got me stumped with that virtual thing.
Right? So it's one machine. Yeah,
It's one computer.
But it has the power of 20,000
laptops.
Can you imagine what that chip would look like? That's got to be a bunch of chips all just.
And it's not a box computer. It's pretty normal looking. It just has
Right.
a lot of wiring going on. And then it's a bunch of numbers. It's all reserved for no YouTube, nothing. It's just numbers, making all those molecules. And then the number authorizations, changing it to make the cells get infected by cancer or something like that.
Is there an actual, like a 3D printer that makes a virtual human, or is it just in a computer?
It's just in the
It's
computer.
a virtual.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because those 3D printers are pretty amazing what they can do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're printing food with that stuff now.
Real that you
Yeah.
can eat?
Yeah, 3D print food.
How do they do that?
I don't know. It's synthetic food. I don't know. I don't think it tastes as good as normal food, but it's still
Yeah.
healthy and it's synthetically made.
Hey,
So-
if you're hungry,
Yeah.
Well, in the was it the 80s, Star Trek Next Generation,
Yeah. Replicators.
the replicators.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, as I recall correctly, even the original series used replicators. But I also recall the characters on those shows complained about the quality
The
of
food.
the replicated food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
That there'll be a couple of time travel episodes. Someone will have real ice cream and they eat it and they're like, what the heck?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you ever watch 2.5 Men?
Occasionally.
Charlie Sheen and
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize how old these shows were. One day they were on, and Charlie never knew how to do laundry, so his brother's teaching him. And he opened the door, and then the water stopped, and then he closed it, and the water started again. He was, this is amazing. And then he says, well, how do I know when how do I know when it's done? He says, oh, it'll call your phone. And Charlie believed him. But that's reality today.
Yes.
My stove can be done by Wi-Fi.
Can you really? You have a smart stove?
Yeah, but I'm afraid to burn the house down when I'm there, let alone on I-95 telling my stove what to cook.
That is amazing.
I saw another show, I forget what it was, that they were making a joke like that about something else that is now here.
Right, right. Well, I remember reading years ago, they were talking about smart appliances when it was just conceptualized, right? And the first one that they conceptualized was the refrigerator. What would you do with a smart refrigerator? So the thinking was that if you had all containers like ketchup, pickles, or whatever it is, has a barcode on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you approach it to the refrigerator, the refrigerator scans it going in and out. When it doesn't go back in the refrigerator knows you don't have ketchup anymore.
Goes on your order.
You'll get a text message or an email that on your next trip to the store. Yeah,
I can't keep up with it. I can't even I can't even get Alexa to talk to me lately. I don't know. You guys
Alexa's difficult. I agree with you.
really?
Yeah, I don't even know how social media works. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
It's technology. I can, and as soon as I learn my phone, about half of it, it's obsolete, and I got to start over again. So yeah, it's really, to me, you kids, a lot of you younger people, Man, you know everything on those phones.
Yeah, we
and
were born and
computers.
raised with it. That's why. But I still remember being shocked when I first saw one. I still remember that. I do remember how much my world has changed when everyone else got a phone. Because when I got a phone, I only played games on it. So think of it like an Atari. That's
Mhm.
all I have. An
Mhm.
Atari. That's
Mhm.
the whole point. But then everyone else using the phones, they used it for everything. And I saw how detached everything became, or how detached I was from everything,
Mhm.
and how fast everyone else was moving, and how fast everyone else was changing because of this stuff. And I still struggle with it today sometimes. And I feel that that these kids are missing something because of that everything is just given to them so quickly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then when I got my first smartphone, I didn't know what they programmed into it before I left Metro T-Mobile, and I went to Dollar General for something, and I'm walking down the aisle, and I had the new phone in my pocket. All of a sudden, I hear Kingsford charcoal on sale in aisle 8. I'm looking behind me, in front of me. There's nobody on my aisle,
I don't believe this.
and I didn't even realize it was the phone in my pocket. I'm like,
And
then,
so it automatically connected to the Wi-Fi,
yeah,
and it knew where you were.
yeah.
So it must be a Google phone, right? Yeah.
No, it's Samsung.
Yes.
Yeah,
But it's a Google apps and like that.
yeah. Well, I didn't know
Yeah.
what they put in it before I left.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was freaking me out. And then I made a left down the aisle,
Yeah.
and something else was on. I'm like, now I know it's my phone, but now I got Big Brother
Oh
following
my
me.
God. Wow.
And another thing I've noticed that changed a lot in my life with smartphones and all
Mhm.
those automated stuff was
Mhm.
a long time ago, I could sit down and watch a really, really boring movie and I wouldn't mind. And
Mhm.
I could sit down and wait for something, wait for this, wait for that. I remember I had a little iPod that had a fixed number of songs. I can't change it whenever I want to. That was how it is. And now, ever since smartphones came in, and then I can just click on whatever I want whenever I want to, everywhere I go, it automatically connects to whatever I needed to connect to. A lot of people are suffering from this thing called instant gratification, which is why kids in my generation get
Mhm.
bored easily when they're not around their phones or anything, because their brains are trained to instantly get exactly what they want when they want it automatically.
Right.
That when that's taken away, their brains, it's like kind of like withdrawal to drugs.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my
And I
granddaughter.
know I'm having that problem. Like sometimes I'm getting less patient when I'm watching a TV show or a movie.
Yeah, because you can't move it along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My granddaughter said to me one day, "When are you going to get a smartphone?" Because I just had an old flip phone.
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't know. You know what?" She said, "You're my only grandparent that has a dumb phone."
Dumb phone.
So I got it, and try to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too funny. Too funny.
And one day we were driving near her father's house, and I stopped at the light going to Jupiter, and I'm texting at the light. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm texting your dad that we're almost there." And she said, "Just push that little thing that looks like a microphone and talk." Because I said,
Mhm.
I don't want to drive and text at the same time.
Right.
And I had that phone for a year and a half. I didn't know that little
Talk to text. Yes.
it was there the whole time. I just never noticed the little microphone on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can ask Google. So if you have Samsung, so you go to the Google app and you would say, "Okay, Google," and then you can ask Google questions. So with an iPhone, it's Siri, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Google, I find, is pretty responsive.
Yeah.
And because I'll have conversations with my wife, and there's a word I'll use, and it's foreign to her. So okay, she doesn't know the meaning of that word, and sometimes I try to describe what this word means, and I just can't seem to. I'm kind of dancing around it. I said, you know what? Let me use. So I use my phone. I go, okay, Google, what is the Chinese word for this word? And Google immediately gives me the response in Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my wife goes, "Oh, I understand."
Yeah. It's amazing what you can do with them now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it really does help communication quite a bit.
Now there's a problem with TikTok lately. They say in China.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're saying, and I told my niece the other day. I said, "Do you use TikTok?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "You know what they're doing now? They're
So it's a
gathering
tracking
all your
device.
information
Right.
and they're storing it forever.
Right.
And I said, but the kids in China, what they get, theirs only gives them like educational
Right.
platforms.
Right.
But they're doing everything that you do, they're recording.
Right.
That's how they know how to, politically, fight against us also, because they know how you people are thinking at your age.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating stuff. Have you followed in the news about some of the battles in the streets in China right now?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so there was a fire in an apartment building. So there's a general lockdowns for the whole communities. If somebody in your building, you have like 100 people live in your building, and one person tests positive for COVID, they lock down the entire building.
They're even welding doors.
And they weld to make sure you don't leave. They weld the door shut. Isn't that special?
Oh.
And so there was a fire,
And they couldn't get
and
out.
they could not get out, and the emergency vehicles couldn't get there to put out the fire because of the barricades and all the other elements that kept them out of the building. So ultimately, many people died.
Yeah.
And children included. And so the people said, enough of this whole zero COVID. They have a zero COVID policy. So if one person gets it, everybody has to get locked down until everybody tests, negative.
They're even locking them in factories too, right?
Well, they've locked in. And so the Apple people, they're upset. Yes, they walked out and so there's a lot of unrest. Not too sure where that's going. I understand the Chinese government's cracking down quite heavily on, because you're not legally allowed to protest
But your
or complain. So what they do, if you have like people put up signs, with their, so they hold up these blank sheet of papers.
Yeah.
And say, because there's no free speech over there. And so you can't, if you say something that complains about the government, then you're guilty, and then you just go away somewhere. If you're lucky, you just go away.
And then Musk, Elon, your buddy, your Rocket Man buddy,
Right?
Elon Musk has had a meeting yesterday, I guess, with Apple.
Yes, Cook. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and talking about the fact that they're not helping the people that are trying to protest in China.
Right.
But most of their parts for Apple are made in China.
Right.
And they're
so yes,
kiss and tail.
Yes. So he's kind of trying to walk a fine line. He's pretty bold. And the only way he can really, let's face it, if you have an iPhone, likely it was made in China.
Yeah. And Musk they were telling Apple, that we might just take you off of the Play Store or something like that.
Right. Well, that was the rumor. And then yesterday he came out. He said, "Oh, absolutely. There's never been under consideration. We would never do that."
Apple's really cozy. I think they were afraid of the government years ago when who was it? Jobs that started?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Well, they brought him to Washington, D.C. when his company was worth a mere $3 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And they were having hearings. They were saying that you make more than some small countries and this and that. It's none of their damn business, Washington, D.C.
Right.
You should be happy. He's employing a lot of people.
Right.
But yeah, they were going after him. But you have a lot of that going on where they're picking the corporations and they're going after certain ones. They were talking today on one show about the new thing with the guns. When you buy a gun now, the government in D.C. is trying to get them to categorize it as a gun purchase. So one day, and then people are worried that one day, now they know who has the gun. So if they ever do try to come back after us and come and get them, they'll know who has them.
Who has
and Visa and MasterCard and all these, that's where they're getting them from, the credit card companies.
Now
these are the same banks.
What they call metadata.
These are the same banks that they bailed out, and
so they're a little bit beholden.
Yeah. So this is kind of how it works in China and Russia. They have their favorite corporations that do what they say. and the rest of you you're in bad luck.
Yeah.
And you remember what our President Biden said about the guns? Oh, you guys you're buying all these guns. You buy all you want. You don't have any F-15s. We do. Like he's talking like he's going to go to war against MAGA.
Yeah.
You know, hey, what is he
I
doing?
don't know. Don't know. It's a mystery. It's up there with the pyramids. It's still a mystery.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Right. So, yeah. So circling back to the war in Ukraine, it's still ongoing. They're hoping that within the next few weeks, because it's incredibly muddy. I don't know if you've seen any pictures of some of the soldiers that are in the trenches there, but what the Ukrainian soldiers are doing, they're actually rotating them out after about 5 days, and gives them 3 hots and a cot.
They have tents set up.
Yeah, they're all set up. They have a sauna, and they get fresh clothes, and so they get to chill out for a little bit.
Cell phone chargers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then but yeah, these for 5 days they're sitting in these trenches, and in mud is just this one guy actually saw him taking off his boots for the first time when he got into this clean up space, right? And so he had to pull his boots off, and he managed to pull the boots off, and he around his sock was wrapped a plastic bag, but his foot was inside of a plastic bag, wearing the same sock for 5 days.
It's sad, but in about a month and a half or so, they're going to wish for mud because it's going to be so cold,
right?
And their feet are going to be freezing.
Right. Well, but anyways, the trench foot is a big problem that they're very concerned about. The Russian soldiers, not so lucky. There is no respite for them, and they're.
They even leave their dead laying back behind. Yeah.
It's a real terrible situation. I saw a side-by-side photograph taken of the trench warfare during World War I, and then a picture taken today. And it was virtually unchanged as far as the landscape and the appearance. It's like, wow, 100 years, and it's like, really?
I never thought we'd see like another Hitler type, but the way that China is moving now, and in Russia and Iran, I never thought we'd see it again.
No, I know. Well, we've come to that magical time where, let's see, do we have? No, I don't have. Nope, we're going to do it this way. All right. Well, very good. We'll take we've got a caller on the other line. We'll take the caller when we come back from this break. So stick with us. We'll be back in about a minute.
They say Chrissy McVie.
Hello. Thanks for holding. How you doing? I did. Do you really? I thought you just rang in now. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Yeah. Yeah. You bet. Well, yeah. Hey, save all this for when we go back. We're 30 seconds out, okay? Okay, fair enough. I'll remind you. All right, stand by. Palm City, Charlie.
Yeah, I could hear him.
Yeah.
You hear Chrissy McVie died?
Yeah.
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 They said she didn't show any signs. She's 79 years old.
All right, good afternoon. You're listening to Treasure Coast Forum. We've got a caller on our Newsmaker line. Go ahead, caller.
Well, first, let me just say that you brought in the A team with Bob there. You know, right?
I don't think
You
so.
didn't call me. You brought in the A team.
Well, I didn't want to
And now
bother
I know I'm a sub if Bob can't show.
you.
Yeah, okay. Just figured I'd throw it
Well,
out there.
I didn't want to
So-
double team Amira, because I wanted to
they
kind of.
couldn't handle it. They could not handle it.
So,
So anyway, as I was saying earlier,
Yes.
I know where I was.
yes,
I spent 3 years in the Army,
yes.
Army Airborne, jumping out of perfectly good planes.
But thank you for
And
your
all-
service.
Oh, okay, my honor. That's what you're supposed to say.
Ah.
I lived, so
Yeah,
of course my son was Desert Storm with the tanks.
mm-hmm.
My father was an officer under Ike, but we started to talk about feet.
Yes,
Take care of your feet, and they'll take care of you.
there you go. Yeah,
And you go through the monsoons in Vietnam. You think it's raining hard around here sometimes.
Hmm.
Comes down in sheets there
I
sometimes.
bet.
Spent some time in a rubber plantation. Saw a huge, like millipede or whatever those things
Oh,
are.
centipede, yeah.
I thought climb into my rucksack. Here I am with an entrenching tool, beating the living heck out of my rucksack. Shook it all out. It wasn't in there. It must have gone underneath or
Oh
something.
my God.
But I wasn't about to stick my hand in there.
No.
That's not good.
Did you come across,
And-
Charlie, any of those, what do they call them, one steps? The snakes?
One
We
step.
saw.
thought those are
there were
landmines.
cobras.
Yeah.
I never saw one, thank the Lord. There were tigers. I heard them. Never saw one.
Wow.
Spent time in the mountains back to back with the first lieutenant, all alone, because my squad left me. I told Frank that story.
Mm,
That was quite interesting.
yeah.
But anyway, I lived. My son lives. Obviously, my father lived, or we would not be here. What do
Right.
you think, Bob? Huh? So you brought the staunch conservative. I love it. I love it. Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
And maybe the young lady, if
Yeah.
she'd like to take over for Kamala Harris,
Yeah.
she would do a better job.
Well, she probably would go to the border and then take a, see what's
Oh,
going
the border's
on.
secure. Didn't you hear?
Well, that's the rumor. Yes.
Yeah, the 200,000 people coming over every month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a rumor.
Yeah.
And they're still
I
going.
saw some in Bells the other day.
Good night.
I know Spanish, and that wasn't Spanish.
No?
And they kind of looked Spanish.
Hmm. Yeah.
This
yeah.
whole group.
They're
They
still
looked
trying
at
to.
me. I looked at them. I kept walking. They kept shopping.
They're
Capitalism.
still
Capitalism.
trying to go after DeSantis for sending those illegals.
I saw
to
that
Martha's
yesterday
Vineyard.
in the news. Yeah.
He sent another bunch, didn't he? Someplace to Martha's Vineyard, I think he sent them.
Yeah,
this time.
Yeah.
Well, I got an idea for them. You take them all in a bus to Disneyland,
Mm.
Disney World,
Disney World, yeah.
and they have that Epcot there, and they're from all over the
but,
world.
But honestly, we have Iger now. They threw out the idiot.
Yeah.
I own that stock. Let's leave Disney alone.
Yeah.
We're going to bring it back, okay?
Yeah.
But that was a good idea, Bob. Well,
Mhm.
you're about a month too late.
Yeah,
Mhm.
They threw out the idiot and they brought Bob Iger back in.
Yes.
yeah.
Hopefully, the stock's going to go up. I bought it for my grandchildren
Mm.
because Disney's not going to go away. But
No, hopefully.
if they celebrate weirdo, it might at that point.
Yeah.
They'll lose 50% of their audience anyway.
Well, all of Orlando's owned by ABC, NBC, and CBS. They also own all our major cable companies, and they own all our local media that we get on antenna. I mean, they own too much of our news
The
and our
media.
information,
Mhm.
and
Indeed.
and they definitely lean one way.
Yeah.
But for too highly educated, you're going to blow your own mind. You know? Whoa,
Whoa.
there goes my therapy dog. He agrees with me.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm going to
Thanks, Charlie.
listen to Bob because he knows a lot of stuff. You know space. Bob knows politics.
I am the local space cadet. That's
Hey,
for
you
sure.
you hold your own, brother.
Take it easy.
Thanks.
Bye,
Thanks, Charlie. All right, bye.
I remember
There.
that dog.
Too funny. Too funny. So where were we? So you have a couple items there on your
Yeah,
checklist, right?
yeah. You crossed a few of them already. Oh, did you hear about this one? Another great cabinet member for Mr. Biden. Do you hear about this guy that stole some luggage from an airport that works in the cabinet for Joe Biden?
No.
Apparently, he's a non-binary. What does that mean?
He does.
That means
Go
I
ahead.
don't think he doesn't identify as male or female or he's like genderless. I believe that's what it is.
Okay, so I heard this yesterday on the radio. So he landed. He had no checked baggage, just carry on, I guess.
Mhm.
And he's admitted to be a cross dresser and
Yeah.
transgender, whatever,
Yeah. Mhm.
non-binary, and they knew that in the White House. And he saw a lady. I guess she was about his size,
Mhm.
and she was nicely dressed, I think. And she turned around and
He walked away with her
he
luggage.
grabbed her bag, and when they got to his place, it was already hung up in his closets. And they also said he admitted one time he's a pusher or walker or something, where he'll put a collar on somebody that wants to be walked around like a dog.
Oh no.
Now, this isn't our White House. I
Oh
mean,
no.
But
Come
why?
on.
What was in the luggage? Why did he steal it?
he wanted the clothes, and
So
he
That's
liked
it?
and he liked the bag too. They said.
Why did he just ask the woman where she bought the bag from?
Well, so apparently so if I understand what Bob said, he eyeballed this lady when she went to get her luggage. He was able to put together in his mind this lady and this luggage. She's about his same height and build, right?
Yeah,
So
Oh,
he
so
said,
he thought he would just get away. People just think he's
Yeah.
that lady.
yeah.
and she was sharply dressed, and he was admiring it, I guess. So he's on
Is
leave. He's on leave.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, I think he needs to spend some time in a rubber room.
Yeah.
Oof.
He might like that with the dog walking. Who knows?
Yikes. Majority of Democrats believe that sanctuary cities should share the burden of illegal immigration. Okay. Good. No argument there. This is according to Town Hall. This is a poll that was taken. That's okay. Interesting stuff. I always like reading what Town Hall's got to say. What else we got here? CNN's always entertaining. Waiting for their website to come up. But we can, okay, top GOP senators reject Trump's declassification comments. Several Republicans dismissed the former president's claim he could declassify records merely by thinking about it. So, okay. I don't know if I've heard that being espoused, and I don't know if that's necessarily what the former president did.
I heard it before him, though, somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But the presidents do have the right to declassify things. So when do they lose that? When they leave the White House, or
I have no idea.
But if things happened under their watch and it was during their historical period, what difference does it make if they do it before, during, or not before, but during or after? It's like, it's okay. Well, it happened during my watch. And
they've been going after him since he came down the elevator.
Right.
And all the major networks loved him when he was just doing The Apprentice, and he was doing all the. He was on The View. He was on all kinds of late night shows with liberals. But and everybody says, well, what about Hillary? She wiped her computer clean, and she said, with a rag. What did you mean? Do I wipe it with a rag? Like she didn't know what they were talking about.
Right. That yes. The bleach bit. Remember the bleach bit? Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
It's a famous little.
And she was using her phone that she didn't want to use the government phone.
Right.
And her phone, they said, definitely had all kinds of top secret stuff. You know, I feel more confident that Trump had that stuff in the Mar-a-Lago in boxes
Right.
than to let the current Justice Department look at all that stuff and see the top secret stuff. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that, right? I mean, the way I understand it, so they had a kind of a loose, big umbrella of we want to look see. So they went down there raid style
Mm-hmm.
and took back a bunch of boxes to their offices, and then sorted through them. And then the Justice Department decided to go after the former president from information that they, I don't think, legally obtained.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So it's like,
Yeah. But he's been a target, you know. The whole Russian hoax was a hoax.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I mean with our media. We need to start protesting ABC, NBC, and CBS because they do own all those other companies.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to say, hey, you know, you're not Pravda. This isn't Russia.
Right.
You know, you guys got to start. And now it used to be, you know, what they said. Now today it's more what they don't say and they know is true. Like they went after who was it for the Hunter Biden stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That was Facebook or somebody or
Originally it was Facebook. It was Zuckerberg.
Yeah,
It was before Congress. And in that meeting before Congress, he said that he was approached by the FBI.
yeah.
And he was told that the information about Hunter Biden's laptop was fake information.
Right.
And so that he should be very wary of any information that's being disseminated through Facebook. So basically the federal government through the FBI manipulated information that was available to the general public.
Yeah.
And that's not right.
And there was some poll that said 40% of all the people they talked to, if they knew, they said before the election about all this Hunter Biden stuff, that they wouldn't have voted for Biden.
Right. 15% of those, yes.
So they manipulated.
Right.
And
that would have given you a different result in that election.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You better believe it.
Because I think the president won by 500,000 votes. But 15% of 70 or 80 million votes is pretty substantial.
And there's
a lot more than 500,000, right?
And there's a lot of funny.
Amira could do the math in her head, right? Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Math is my weakest subject.
But I bet you still could do that.
Yeah.
It's not hard to estimate that out of 80 million voters, 15% of those would be a greater number than 500,000.
Yeah. DC, I would say now they used to say, this company's, well, when they bailed out the banks, and they said, they're too big to fail. Well, DC right now is too big not to fail. I mean, everything's wrong. We're not getting any budgets. They should be locked in like China until they get a damn budget and we get rid of the old ones that they haven't even gone through, that we're still sending checks to people, probably just saying, great, every month I get a check that I don't even need anymore. You know, so we gotta do something. I don't like DC, you know.
No.
My son took me on a tour because he worked there.
Yeah.
And he showed me, these beautiful, nice big buildings here, they're all lobbyists.
Yeah. Wow. Nice.
And he knows because he was protecting those guys that they were lobbying.
Right.
And it's just crazy.
It is crazy. Amira, you know what a toss is? And in the media jargon, it means and now take it away, right? So you want to toss it to Rocky and Bullwinkle?
Rocky and Bullwinkle are here?
Yeah, toss it to say, and now let's hear from...
And now let's hear from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
All right.
And Adrian.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Hello?
the states have the right
Yeah.
to do the elections their own way.
I look.
Say it plugs it in. Perfect. We'll start the car.
Yeah, it's not fair. But in the Democrats usually don't
Okay.
like
All right. Yeah. So we're doing the
rights. They like
this land of ours.
that's the problem right
Okay.
now.
And we'll be back in about a minute 30. Okay.
They want to control people.
All right. Stand by.
But we're not, that's not the way it works here. But we got to figure out something before.
And we're back. You're listening to Treasure Coast Forum. I'm Frank here on the board with Bob. We have Amira here in the house, and on the line we've got Palm City Charlie. Go ahead.
Once again, I do agree with Bob on literally everything he says. The only thing I would add is I would love to see term limits, not just for our elected people, but also for the staffers, the bureaucrats that they're not elected. They just keep moving around.
Right.
And they write the bills
Right.
that the idiots don't read 99.9% of the time.
Right.
Maybe they read a tiny little bill, but then they add stuff to clean bills to screw it up.
Right.
I'd like to see clean bills, not full of junk, pork, they call it.
You're right, Charlie. They said on that January 6th, you know how many people were in the Capitol? 5,000. Now, how many senators and congressmen do we have? We don't. Those are all staffers, and so many of them, and they do hold over. And I think that was one thing that Trump, when he first got in there, he thought everybody's going to love him and this and that. He had no idea how many people he had in the White House left over that were out. They were going
he
for
should
him.
have cleaned house and put his own people in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what I'd like to see, Charlie?
What's
A referendum. I don't know how we do this referendum, I guess. I would like to see no more people living in Washington, D.C. I would like to see the representatives and all these the congressmen or the senators. They should operate. This isn't the days where they rode their horses to D.C. twice a year. They should be in their own districts. With all our technology, they could have a huge, giant cinema screen. People from the live could go there and watch what they're doing every day. And
that's true. Yeah,
they could.
Good idea.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that elder people like me that would love to go there and just watch them, but don't let them in D.C. My son was telling my son took me on a tour of D.C. where he worked for a while. And he said, all these buildings are all lobbyists. That's all. They're getting lobbied all the time. If they had to work from their own city council chambers and people could watch what they're doing, there would be a whole lot of, pushing on them to do what we want.
More transparency.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
And term limits so that they're only in there for, let's say, one term and they're banned from becoming a lobbyist for like at least 10 years, something like that. I'd also like to see drug testing, spot drug testing.
Amira's
Marijuana
nodding
is
her head.
legal.
Oh yeah, I
in
100% agree with everything I'm hearing right now.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, that young lady, see?
Yes,
She's
yes.
going to be the next
She-
vice president.
She's
Huh?
well, maybe president.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, she's got to learn first, you know. Look at Biden. He's there for 47 years. He didn't learn anything.
He learned where the bar card on that
He
Amtrak
wasn't
back to
even-
Delaware was.
He wasn't even a C- student. He was a plagiarist.
Yes.
But he cheated his way through college. I don't think he knows anything, frankly. Too bad, because,
Yeah.
you know, Obama
Well, as a
had a
country-
brain.
Right.
Didn't agree with him, but he had a brain.
Right.
And a great smile.
Mm.
All right. I'll let you guys go.
Okay. Thanks,
Go
Charlie.
team, go. You
Go-
know? Hold that
Yes.
line.
Go
All right.
Team Charlie. All right.
Hi
take
to your
care.
wife.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, I have something to add in that regard.
Okay.
So I'm in the Youth in Government program, which
Right.
is a model of the United States government. It's as close as we can make it at the state level for kids.
Right.
So I'm in the executive branch, and it's 100% true. Executives have no idea what's going on the whole time. I mean, we do sponsor bills, promote bills, but all we do is read what is written, and we don't actually know the truth about what this policy is going to affect and who it's affecting.
Mhm.
So 100%, I think we should get people in the government to do work on policy and issues where they actually have been exposed to those situations and actually know what they're doing. Exactly what he said. They should be not just in DC all the time, but they should actually be going around and seeing what's going on. Some of like my favorite world leaders in the past, like used to go like, have you heard of the show Undercover Boss?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, they used to do that. There was this one guy, I think he was I don't know if this is 100% true, but I've heard, and even if it isn't, this is a great example of what world leaders and people who are executives in our government today should do. So I heard Queen Elizabeth's dad, King George VI,
Mhm.
way back in the day when he was king,
Mhm.
there were a couple of times where he would walk into normal labor factories
Mhm.
and he wouldn't have all the glam around him. He'd just look like a normal guy there, and he'd see what was going on and he'd get along with everyone. And then he would see the issues and then he would tackle them. And of course, they were the right issues to tackle because he saw it. So
Mm.
I think there should be more of that in the government.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of I think there is something, I'm afraid that a lot of executives take their positions because of the power and because it's just fun. Like I know
Absolutely.
my experience as an executive, it is so fun to walk around and manipulate the branches to do exactly what you want to do. It is so fun. But then again, if I was in a real government, I know what I'm doing is not the best thing for everyone's interest in the world.
Mhm.
So I really feel like executives should do exactly what Mr. Bob said.
Mhm. Mhm. How do you feel about how our governor on the state level is performing? Have you had a chance to give some thought to that since you're in the executive branch of youth and government?
So when it comes to state, I know about the Department of Corrections mostly, and a little bit of the Department of Juvenile Justice. DeSantis, I think he's a decent governor. I think he's pretty decent. I'm happy he got reelected.
Good.
And about the Department of Corrections, what I've learned is they provide rehabilitation stuff, but it is rough. Jails are rough.
Mhm.
There's gang violence, all sorts of stuff, and there's a huge staff shortage because no one wants to work in a jail.
Right.
And then less than 1% of funding goes to the Department of Corrections. It's just big boxes of bars, and then they're just putting people in there. So yeah, I think that's a huge problem.
Isn't it in our Constitution that we have a balanced budget or a reviewed budget every year?
In the state constitution?
No, in the federal.
No.
No. The continuing resolution, they're going to do it again soon, right? Right before they leave for Christmas vacation, they're going to Scrooge us. Yeah. And then they'll be afraid to go home and they'll go to Hawaii instead.
Right. Yeah. I do not believe that we have a goal towards a balanced budget, but it's a kind of more of a wish than a law.
Yeah, that's got to
And-
change. It's
yeah.
got to change. And we got to get
Yeah.
all this pork out of it. Like they said, all these bills have a name and they have nothing to do with that.
Well, so the thing is, you've got all these bureaucrats, people that work within the government, and I have said this on the air many times, and I'll probably say it again. The biggest problem, as I see it, as the government bureaucrats, they stay employed, and they merely look at the parties that are in power at the time as a mere inconvenience. And so they're going to go about doing what they do, and then they provide bills and stuff to the various members of Congress and to the executive branch for their approval and to bring those bills forward. But that's all done by staff. You hear that referred to often. Staff. Those are bureaucrats that work within government constantly. So I don't know what the fix is, but I think awareness is a big part of that. So we need to be more aware for sure. And we thank you for listening and becoming more aware. And we thank Amira for coming in, Bob for coming in, Charlie for calling. And we thank you for listening right here on Treasure Coast Forum.
Take care.
All right. Good night.
Bye.